When Olivia Barnes moved to the countryside, she wanted silence. Her new home sat alone at the end of Old Briar Lane, a long dirt road. Dead birch trees, no streetlights, no neighbors. The real estate agent gave her only one warning. Don't walk the road at night. Olivia, a lifelong city girl, thought it was funny. Silence didn't scare her. For a week, life was peaceful. She tended the garden, read books on the porch, and watched fields glow gold at sunset. But on the eighth evening, just as dusk bled across the sky, she saw him, a man, far down Old Briar Lane, walking slowly, body tilted to one side. His clothes looked old, maybe a long coat, maybe something older, but distance blurred everything. He paused, leaning forward like he was listening. Olivia blinked. He was gone. The next dusk, he appeared again. Closer. Still. Facing her house. Something cold formed in her stomach. Before she could move, the man raised one arm slowly, then lowered it. She stepped back. Blink. Gone. That night she dreamed she was running down Old Briar Lane while footsteps dragged behind her. When she reached her house in the dream, a tall figure waited at the bottom of the steps, breathing heavily. She woke screaming and found her front door wide open. The next day she called the agent, asking about the road and the strange figure. The agent hesitated. It's nothing, she said too quickly, just wildlife. But Olivia had grown up near woods. Wildlife didn't walk like that. At dusk she looked again. She didn't want to, but she did. The man was closer. She could finally see his shape, tall, thin, one shoulder twisted higher than the other. His head hung forward as if barely connected. His coat draped all the way to his ankles, unmoving despite the breeze. He took a step toward her. Olivia gasped and rushed inside. Minutes later, someone knocked. 3 soft taps. She froze. Through the door she heard breathing slow, heavy, but through the peephole she saw only darkness. She stayed like that for hours until the breathing finally faded. At dawn she found 3 faint marks on her door. Not scratches, knuckles. As if someone had pressed their hand against the wood. The sheriff came and searched the road but found no footprints. He shrugged, repeating the usual line, animal. But even he didn't sound convinced. That night things escalated. Olivia heard breathing outside her kitchen window. When she looked, a hot brim slipped out of sight. At midnight, her doorknob turned slowly. A shadow stood under the door, unmoving, watching. She didn't sleep. On the 6th night, unable to endure another dusk, she packed a bag and waited for sunrise. The moment light touched the road, she bolted into her car and sped away. In her rearview mirror, she saw him, standing in the road behind her, motionless, leaning, coat dragging in the dirt, watching her go. She didn't return home. She rented a motel room in town, planning to get the rest of her things later with help. She finally slept, but at 3:13 a.m., she woke to a familiar sound. 3 taps. They echoed softly through the motel door. Her heart stopped. The hallway was empty when she checked, but a long shadow stretched under the door, as if someone stood with their feet pressed against it, leaning forward. The shadow didn't move for 20 minutes. Then it slowly withdrew. The next morning, she left the motel, left the county, left everything. She changed numbers, moved to a noisy city, avoided quiet streets and dusk. Months passed. For the first time, she almost felt safe. Then one evening she returned to her apartment and froze. There were 3 faint marks on her door. Knuckles. Her legs nearly buckled. She forced herself to look down the long, crowded street. People walked past, cars honked, normal city noise, but above the crowd she saw him. Tall, thin, leaning forward. Long coat brushing the pavement. He stood perfectly still though dozens of people walked right through him without noticing. Only Olivia saw him. His head lifted slowly, as if he had always known where she would end up. She realized that he hadn't been following her. He had been waiting. Some things on Old Briar Lane don't stay behind. Some follow you forever, and some walk past at dusk. The lake that remembers. When Mia's aunt passed away, she left her an old cabin on Wraithwater Lake. lake sat deep in the pines, miles from cell service, surrounded by fog thick enough to muffle sound. Locals told stories about it, people disappearing, strange reflections on its surface, but Mia grew up with city fears, not forest legends. She arrived in late afternoon, tossing her bags inside the cabin and stepping onto the pier. The lake was perfectly still, like a giant sheet of black glass. Then she noticed something strange. Her reflection wasn't moving like she was. Mia lifted her hand. The reflection lifted its hand too, but half a second late. A slow lag, like a delayed video feed. She blinked and the water rippled, wiping the image away. Just tired, she muttered. But the unease stayed. That evening, fog rolled over the lake in thick waves, swallowing entire pines. The cabin creaked as the temperature dropped. Mia wrapped herself in a blanket and lit the fireplace. Around midnight, she heard footsteps on the pier. Heavy ones. She froze. No one else should be out here. The footsteps stopped. Mia grabbed her flashlight and opened the cabin door. The pier stretched empty into a wall of fog. The water looked darker than before, the surface unnaturally smooth. Mia. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The whisper came from the lake. Not from the fog, from beneath the water. She took a step back and shut the door, locking every latch. She didn't sleep. At dawn, she crept to the pier again. Something floated near the middle of the lake, a piece of wood maybe, drifting slowly toward her. As it neared, she saw it wasn't wood at all. It was a hand. Pale, waterlogged. The fingers pointed straight at her. Mia stumbled backward, slipping on the wet planks. When she looked again, the hand was gone, as if the lake had swallowed it whole. She tried to leave after that, but her car refused to start. The engine clicked uselessly. Dead. The nearest neighbor was 6 miles away, across woods she'd never walked. She was trapped. And the lake knew it. Inside the cabin, she found something she hadn't noticed before, a notebook tucked between the fireplace stones. The first page was titled in shaky handwriting. The lake remembers. The entries were short, frantic. It copies you. It learns you. Don't look directly at your reflection after sunset. It wants the real one, not the one trapped below. The final entry chilled her to the bone. If it calls your name, don't answer. If it knocks, don't open. If it smiles, run. Mia slammed the notebook shut. Knocks sounded on the cabin wall. Not the door. The wall facing the lake. Slow, deliberate knocks. Like someone knocking from the outside. Or something knocking from underneath. Mia, the voice whispered again, sliding through the boards like it lived inside the wood. She backed away, tripping over a chair. The knocking continued, then stopped all at once. Silence draped the cabin like a thick blanket. Then she heard the door hinge creak, even though she had locked it. Very slowly, the cabin door eased open, letting in a spill of cold fog. Mia grabbed a lantern and stepped toward it, shaking. A figure stood on the pier. Her height, her posture, her hair hanging in the same loose braid. But the face was wrong. The smile too wide, stretching ear to ear. The eyes all black, reflecting not the world, but water. It reached out a hand. Her hand. A perfect copy. Mia, it whispered in her voice, but deeper, wet, bubbling like something trying to speak with a throat full of lake water. She slammed the door and fought the lock into place. Something hit the wood. Hard. Again. And again. The cabin shuddered with every blow. When dawn finally broke, the pounding stopped. Mia opened the door cautiously. Fog drifted lazily over the water. The pier was empty. The lake was calm. Quiet. Peaceful. For a moment she wondered if she had imagined everything. Then she saw the footprints. Wet footprints leading from the end of the pier, all the way to her front door. only one set. Not hers. She looked down at the lake one more time. Her reflection stared back, but it was smiling, and she wasn't.